Welcome to Waters World. I'm your host, Jesse Waters. Donald Trump just moments ago in front of a huge crowd in Melbourne, Florida, laying into the media and lighting things up. Take a look.
I also want to speak to you without the filter of the fake news. The dishonest media, which has published one false story after another, with no sources, even though they pretend they have them, they make them up in many cases. They just don't want to report the truth, and they've been calling us wrong now for 2 years. They don't get it, but they're starting to get it. I can tell you that. They've become a big part of the problem. They are part of the corrupt system. Thomas Jefferson, Andrew Jackson, and Abraham Lincoln, and many of our greatest presidents fought with the media and called them out, oftentimes on their lies. When the media lies to people, I will never, ever let them get away with it. I will do whatever I can that they don't get away with it. They have their own agenda, and their agenda is not your agenda.
So Donald Trump is basically saying the media is not on your side, and he is aligning himself with the people. The media is now officially the opposition. The Democrats completely out of power. Pelosi, Schumer, totally irrelevant. So now the media has come forward, and they're saying, you know what? We are going to be the ones to fight against Donald Trump. And that's a huge risk for the media. But what Trump is going to say is, you know what? I'm the people's protector. I'm on the people's side, and the media does not have your best interests at heart. And he aligned himself with the crowd so much, he actually brought a crowd member up on stage with him. Take a look.
Hop over the fence. Come on. He can do it. This guy's in good shape. Look at him. Look at this guy. Come on. This guy is great. Don't worry about him. No. Come here. Figure this out. Come on up. Come on. Come here. Come on.
So the bottom line is the media is the enemy and the rest of the country is on Trump's side. And he's actually called them the enemy. We have one of his latest tweets right here saying, quote, the fake news media, failing New York Times, NBC News, ABC, CBS, CNN, is not my enemy. It is the enemy of the American people. And that has gotten the press so crazy, they don't know what to do with themselves. And even Republicans are upset by this. John McCain speaking to NBC News here.
If you want to preserve democracy as we know it, you have to have a free and many times adversarial press. And without it, I'm afraid that we would lose so much of our individual liberties over time. That's how dictators get started.
Now, I have a lot of respect for Senator McCain. He's a real hero, but dictatorships, I don't think so. Might be a little exaggeration over there. Anyway, that's how the deal is. We're going to have some problems now, the press versus Trump. But with us now to break it all down is Pete Hegseth, the man, the myth, the legend. So I believe the media enjoys being the enemy because it's always about themselves. They're very self-centered, and they love to play the victim card. But the worrisome thing for me is that they are going to play this so voraciously and attack so much, it's going to reinforce the idea that they're the enemy so much in the public's head that they're never going to be able to recover from this.
Of course not. They've already done that to themselves.
Right.
They deem the end of the republic at hand, which
right.
plays into Trump's hand. He's saying, no, I'm merely trying to do what the people sent me to Washington to do,
right.
and you're at every stop going to tell me that I'm wrong. No, I'm not. And I'm going to double down on that. And the opposition that you bring will reinforce the fact that I came to the swamp to drain it.
Right.
You are a part of the very swamp.
Right.
You are the institution that the people loathe.
Right.
And I'm going to call you out, and the people are going to love me
That's right.
for it.
You can
and they do.
You can actually see the media circling in the drain as we speak. And this is not the first time that presidents have gone after the media like this. And he referenced it today in Melbourne, I mean, Thomas Jefferson, quote, the only toxin of a nation, speaking about the press. And then Lincoln, quote, newspapers lie and then they re-lie. And this guy, you know, saved the Union. So, I mean, is he against free press too?
Wait, was that Lincoln and Jefferson, or were those Trump tweets?
It's the same thing.
It's the exact same thing.
What
did people expect? When Trump said he was going to take on the establishment, did they think it was going to be easy or polite or nice or not messy? Of course it was going to be difficult. He's going to have press conferences where he berates them, tweets where he calls them out, and rallies where he goes straight to the American people.
That's true.
That's what conflict requires. And Republicans have never had, a standard bearer with a set of cojones willing to go on stage and call them what they are, which is a part of the left-wing establishment of this country, which has drifted us in that direction, regardless of whether Republicans or Democrats are in charge. He's doing that, and the people that elected him love him.
They love it. And the stuffed shirt senators, all these guys, are giving this president a lot of problems. You have McCain, small majority in the Senate, and these guys complain more than the Democrats.
And that's going to be the biggest problem.
He's got some challenges on his hands.
Like you, I'm a big fan of Senator McCain. I honor his service. I appreciate him. But the fact that they're laying into the way we've always looked at politics. We got to play through John Dickerson and ABC and NBC and NBC and hope they're the proper filters. No, they're not. They've slanted against us from the beginning. Why do we think everyone in the world sees America the way we see ourselves? Stop playing that game. Step back. Put America first. Call a spade, and listen, I hope John McCain will get on board because he is an honorable American.
Right.
But right now, to be the opposition within his own party.
That's right. And speaking of America first, you know who came out first was Melania. Melania read a prayer, and it brought the house down. I think everybody enjoyed seeing her up there. Did you listen to the Melania prayer?
I did. I listened extra closely. It was well done.
Very well done by Melania. And also, one of the major things we talked about, we're going to talk about it later, is, you know, the press just can't keep up because this guy's clicking on all cylinders. But
no,
again,
and how do they ratchet up their hysteria at this point?
I don't know.
When he's Hitler, he can't be more Hitler.
I know.
Right? They can't stop.
It's out of control. Got to go. Thanks very much, Pete.
Jason.
Up next, I talked to a guy that tries to defend Hollywood attacks against President Trump. It does not go so well. And later, I tracked down a professor who's speaking badly about Donald Trump in the classroom, indoctrinating his students. You guys want to see that confrontation? Moments away. Legion of liberals have been freaking out over the Trump presidency since well before he took office. Remember this?
What is evident is that Donald Trump lacks more than the qualifications to be president.
He lacks the necessary stability.
And clearly the respect for the Constitution of our great nation.
You have position,
the authority,
and the opportunity to go down in the books as an American hero
who changed the course of history.
And just hearing the words President Trump left many in the entertainment industry, including my next guest, in tears.
If and when Donald Trump becomes president, our economy is going to go to I care about America. Donald Trump doesn't care about America. Donald Trump doesn't care about you. Donald Trump cares about himself. Insane. This is just... Things are not going to be okay, people. They're not going to be okay.
So does professional gossiper Perez Hilton still feel that way? He joins me now. So, Perez, you have to admit you were wrong about the economy. It's actually kicking into high gear. The stock market's on a record tear. Will you at least admit that?
Well, it is because he's being great for Wall Street, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought he campaigned against that.
Well, I mean, Wall Street's doing well, and all the men and women who have investments throughout this country are probably reaping some nice rewards if they have any money in the stock market. But let me ask you a question, because I am very concerned about you. You're saying people aren't going to do well. Are you okay? Are you doing okay, Perez?
Oh, I said I would be okay because I'm well off. I was more concerned for the people that aren't well off because I'm one of those bleeding heart liberals that cares about other people and not just my own financial interests. The wealthy people of America will continue to be okay. It's those that aren't wealthy that I am concerned about, and I don't know if they're going to be okay.
Okay, well, I think maybe in a couple months we'll have you back, and if some people that didn't have jobs now do have jobs, maybe we could all sing Kumbaya. Let me ask you this, though, because the SNL folks, and I know you're tied into the Hollywood crowd, franchise going pretty aggressively against people in the Trump orbit. Let's take a look at how they depicted Kellyanne Conway on Saturday Night Live. Take a look.
Kellyanne, what the hell are you doing here?
I just want to be a part of the news, Jake.
And this is how you do it? By breaking into my apartment?
What was I supposed to do? You weren't answering my calls. You changed your number. I'm not going to be ignored, Jake.
So I thought it was pretty funny when Melissa McCarthy did the Spicer imitation. That was hilarious. But then to go after Kellyanne Conway and depict her like a slut, I thought that was kind of unfair. Do you think it was fair for SNL to go after Kellyanne as some sort of promiscuous person?
Like a slut?
I don't know, putting her in kind of like a cheap silk negligee and acting seductive and sultry. I mean, you didn't see that at all?
No, I did, but they were spoofing Fatal Attraction. That's what they were going for.
Right, with
they weren't
Kellyanne Conway.
Her or painting her out to be something she's not.
Okay, well, I think many people that saw that might not have agreed with your interpretation. But, you know, this is just...
many people that saw it probably didn't agree with yours either.
Well, I will leave that to the audience to decide. Let me ask you a question about this, though. The New York Times writer, journalist he calls himself, was at some party...
Or it might be her. We don't know who the gender
Let me just finish. Was at a party, and the swimsuit model picked up on something this journalist said, and we have the tweet that she described him saying right here. We have it here. Sat next to a journalist from the New York Times last night who told me, Melania is a hooker. Whatever your politics, it's crucial to call this out for what it is, slut-shaming. I don't care about her nudes or sexual history, and no one should. So I noticed you didn't really cover this story on your website, Perez. Why?
We did.
Did you? I didn't see it on there. Why couldn't I find it on the website?
You probably didn't look closely enough. It's on there right now if you want to go search the Melania Trump category. And I agree.
It's not, because I saw it was covered in the lawsuit Melania had, but this actually wasn't. Maybe I'm wrong. Go ahead.
No, we covered it. I can send you the link right now if you would like.
Okay, please do. So,
okay.
So tell me, why do you think the New York Times is so anti-Melania?
Melania Trump. I'm about to send you the link.
Okay. Take your
time.
And
I'm not going to continue with the interview until I do that, because I have obsessive thinking.
Okay. Perez, you know, we don't have time for you to go through the website because, like I said, I couldn't find it there either. But if you just answer my question, we'll assume you have it. If Fox News journalist called Michelle Obama a hooker, wouldn't you find that offensive, and wouldn't you find that on your website pretty quickly?
Yes, I would find that offensive, and I do find it offensive that that journalist called her a hooker.
Okay. Why do you think that is? What's with it about smearing the First Lady of the United States that the left and people in Hollywood find so attractive?
I mean, I would disagree with you there. I don't think that people smear her at all. I pity her.
Why do you pity Melania Trump?
What?
Why?
Because I would perceive her to be somebody who's not very happy.
Why do you know what's in her heart?
I didn't say I do. I said I perceive her to be.
What gives you that ability to perceive for genuine feelings?
You know, I could just read her body language when she's with her husband. It's a man who won't open the door for her. It's a man who'll walk first. He doesn't seem to be a gentleman.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you know what's in Melania's heart. She seems to be happy to me, but maybe I am wrong. Perez, thank you so much for joining Water's World. I really appreciate it, and I look back to having you on again.
Sure.
Thank you.
Appreciate you having me on.
Donald Trump not just being attacked in the media, but also in the classroom. One professor at St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia, David Perry, who is chair of the communications department in charge of teaching future journalists, used his platform to tell students, quote, people will die as a result of, quote, white Trump voters. This claim is absurd and demands answers. Take a look. One of your professors, Professor Perry, said that people shouldn't open their hearts to white Trump supporters.
I am not sympathetic to the white voters who made over $50,000 a year and said that we are going to vote for Trump. Those people I am not sympathetic to, and I do not believe that you have to open your heart to them. If you are a person of color in this room, if you are a woman in this room, you do not have to open your heart to them.
I don't think it represents our school, really. I think we're very open to all types of people. I don't think we're a community that closes their hearts to anyone.
I think it's pretty stupid, and it doesn't make much sense. I don't really agree with what he had to say.
I think that's just like not appropriate for anyone to be expressing their views in class just because you don't know what other people's opinions are, and that's just like not even relevant to what you're supposed to be teaching.
The professor also said that Donald Trump was going to kill Americans.
People are going to die because of what happened, and if we don't start that, we cannot have a conversation. People's lives are on the line now, and it's time we got real about that.
What's that all about?
I think a lot of people don't really look into what he's going to do, and they use a lot of emotion instead of facts.
Do you know anything about Professor Perry?
Yes, he's my advisor, and I've had him for 4 years. I'm a senior.
Professor Perry said some pretty outrageous things about not opening your heart up to white Trump supporters. Do you agree with that? Is the administration going to do anything about the professor?
Not that I've heard of.
Do you think they should?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's not really right for him to say that, and it kind of goes against the values of St. Joe's.
No longer is it real education taking place. It's just the teachers using their students and their lessons as a means to forward their political agenda.
I think he should be talked to at least, and told that it's not really appropriate for the classroom, especially if he's spreading false information, because it's pretty inappropriate.
Well, I'm going to go try to catch up with the professor. Wish me luck.
Good luck.
Professor Perry, Jesse Waters, Fox News Channel. Just have a few questions for you.
Press, sorry.
Well, we just wanted to ask you a few questions. You said some pretty irresponsible things in the classroom. You said that students shouldn't open their hearts to white Trump supporters. What kind of thing is that to say? Professor, you said that President Trump is going to kill people? Liberals have been freaking out. How do you justify that? This isn't a cult. This is a classroom, Professor. Why are you trying to indoctrinate your students? Does St. Joe's even know that you said these things? Because they do now. We've reached out to St. Joe's University for comment and have not received a response yet. Coming up. Now, he had a very famous saying. Ready? Read my lips. No new.
Oh my God.
Think you could pass the Waters World President's Day quiz? This is a Fox News alert. President Trump holding his first rally since taking office. That's the big story on Waters World tonight. Speaking to a huge crowd in Melbourne, Florida, Campaign Trump was back.
The dishonest media, which has published one false story after another, with no sources, even though they pretend they have them, they make them up in many cases. They just don't want to report the truth, and they've been calling us wrong now for 2 years. They don't get it, but they're starting to get it. I can tell you that. You want lower taxes, less regulation, millions of new jobs, and more products stamped with those beautiful, beautiful words, made in the USA.
Mr. President, thank you, sir. We the people, all movement, is the reason why our president of the United States is standing here in front of us today.
We're going to downsize the bloated bureaucracy and make government lean and accountable. We are going to drain the swamp in Washington, D.C. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again, greater than ever before.
As always, he was full of praise and promise for America, taking some shots at his favorite target, the media. This comes after days of battles with him, including this week's tale of 2 press conferences. Let's start with Wednesday's joint press conference, where Trump called on 2 right-of-center reporters. He was presidential, disciplined, and measured. But here's how the press reacted.
President Trump again called on a series of more conservative-leaning news organizations, which didn't allow for any real questions.
The President of the United States is shutting down part of the First Amendment by not taking questions that are going to be anyway antagonistic in this.
In the last 3 news conferences, Wolf, all of the questions to the American news media have been handled by conservative press. And I think, Wolf, there's no other way to describe it, but the fix is in.
Poor media. They got their feelings hurt. Fast forward to Thursday's press conference in a freewheeling, no-holds-barred spectacle that was absolutely riveting. He called on that same reporter who claimed the fix is in.
Go ahead.
Mr. President.
Excuse me.
You okay? You said I am.
I don't mind bad stories. I can handle a bad story better than anybody, as long as it's true. And, you know, over a course of time, I'll make mistakes and you'll write badly, and I'm okay with that. But I'm not okay when it is fake. Jim?
Thank you very much. And just for the record, we don't hate you.
Tomorrow they will say, Donald Trump rants and raves at the press. I'm not ranting and raving. I'm just telling you, you know, you're dishonest people. I'm changing it from fake news, though.
Doesn't that undermine...
Very fake news.
This time everybody got a shot at the throne. All better? Hardly. Roll the tape.
It was unhinged. It was wild.
Bluster, bravado, exaggeration, and a few loose facts.
Bizarre, contentious. If we're looking in, we're getting an insight into the mind of our president, that he is just obsessed with coverage.
It was like a guy almost like on a couch explaining his problems to a shrink.
It was sprawling. It was all over the place. It was a roadmap of his mind. It is a very disturbing roadmap in many regards.
NBC News' Chuck Todd wasn't happy either. He tweeted, quote, "This is not a laughing matter. I'm sorry. Delegitimizing the press is un-American." Has the press even considered that they may be delegitimizing themselves? And for the whiners upset that Trump is calling on conservative news outlets, let's take a look back at the so-called questions liberal outlets lobbed at President Obama.
When was the first moment that it began to sink in that you were president of the United States?
I ask you about it. Any time in this campaign, did you have a chuckle that you just couldn't get rid of? Something weird that happened. It was so crazy that you just went to bed laughing about.
How confident are you that your plan is going to work, and how do you avoid the dangers of being too cocky?
You've racked up a lot of wins in the last few weeks that a lot of people thought would be difficult to come by. Are you ready to call yourself the comeback kid?
You know, you are the equivalent of a rock star in politics.
Joining me now to discuss the latest media meltdown is the editor of A Torch Kept Lit, Great Lives of the 20th Century, Fox News' chief Washington correspondent, James Rosen. See, I don't think it's, you know, that crazy to remember back when the press was getting so upset when Attorney General Eric Holder was actually spying on you, James. Do you remember that?
It rings a bell, Jesse.
So they're mad at Trump for, you know, delegitimizing the press. But Obama spied on the press. You were the victim of that. Do you see any comparison right now, because I do, between how the press is treating President Trump and President Obama?
One might be more tempted to see the contrasts than the comparisons. Certainly nothing that the Trump administration has done with or to the news media yet approaches in seriousness and nature the conduct of the Obama administration towards the press, and especially Fox News and me, but not just Fox News and me. There was also an issue with the Associated Press and others. I think that what we're seeing here in all of these clashes with President Trump and the news media that you were just playing those clips of is a mix of things, Jesse. On the one hand, you have a simple kind of institutional, biological, reflexive response on the part of an organism, the news media, the Beltway journalism crowd, against someone who, after all, did make it a chief campaign platform to call them out for the dishonesty and to rally his crowds against them.
Right.
So they're pushing back. Part of it also is just a kind of a shock to the system for the news media that things are being done differently at all than the way they've always been done here in the news media. What? You're giving questions to town hall at a news conference? It's never been done.
Right. And they can't handle it. And it's funny because they're so exposed now. When he's subdued in presidential and offers just 2 questions, he's considered a traitor and he's a threat to the freedom of the press. But then when he takes every single question and he's on fire, he is this unhinged maniac who is also a threat to freedom of the press. So whatever Donald Trump does, their game plan is just hatred and mocking him. Isn't that pretty apparent just looking at the reactions to both press conferences?
I made the point on Special Reports panel the other night that the left increasingly is upping the ante with each development in this presidency along these lines, that if you fail to respond to Donald Trump in anything less than apocalyptic terms, you're going to be read out of civilized, polite society. And I don't see anything necessarily apocalyptic about this man or his presidency. His critics, of course, including some in the clips that you played earlier, do have a point. He is loose with facts, sometimes quite unnecessarily so. For example, when he boasted wrongly that he had the biggest electoral college margin since Ronald Reagan.
Right,
that wasn't true.
And that's true, but you know, all politicians lie. I think President Obama had the biggest lie when he said during the health care thing that if you like your health care plan, you can keep it. That was called the lie of the year.
Or that the cause of the Benghazi deaths was a video that we later learned from the officials in Libya was a non-event there.
Exactly.
But also, I will also tell you that I do believe, as one person said earlier in the clips that you played, that news conference the other day was 78 minutes long, and it did offer a roadmap into Donald Trump's mind. Whether one then makes the conclusion, as that individual did in that clip, that it's a disturbing roadmap is up to the viewer. But I do think at one point he did let it slip, Jesse. He said, you know, I'm enjoying the back and forth, and I guess I have my whole life. Okay? And that was it. That was where he acknowledged that for all this hatred of the dishonest media,
yes,
it's really a love-hate relationship.
It is a love-hate relationship, and I think the press loves to hate him, and he just loves giving it right back. Thank you very much, James. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jesse.
Mark Cuban getting into a nasty war of words with President Trump. His Shark Tank colleague not too happy about it. He's here to take him on next. Plus, the dreaded Trump handshake gripping Washington, D.C. We'll tell you how you can handle it. Donald Trump is already doing it here at home. And now Shark Tank's Mr. Wonderful wants to make Canada great again. Businessman Kevin O'Leary is running to be the conservative leader of our neighbor to the north. What lessons has he already learned from President Trump? He joins me now. So, Kevin, you and Trump are big billionaires. You guys understand leverage very effectively. How do you believe President Trump is using leverage in negotiating so far in his first 30 days as commander-in-chief?
Well, the first thing Trump recognized in the campaign, and I think it's not just unique to the United States, it happened in Britain, it's happening in Canada, in France, in Switzerland, in Colombia. The body politic, people who vote, are sick and tired of politicians. They've had enough BS. And they want people that are operators to run government, that make promises that they keep. And that was the groundswell that elected Donald Trump, and he is doing exactly what he said. Not everybody's comfortable about it. It's the first time in a long time a politician actually kept their promises.
On the O'Reilly factor, roll the tape.
I don't think he's been able to show any leadership. I don't think he's taken responsibility for the White House, and I don't think he's shown them any direction.
And Donald Trump hit back hard on Twitter, as he always does, saying, quote, I know Mark Cuban well. He backed me big time, but I wasn't interested in taking all of his calls. He's not smart enough to run for president. So what's going on there with your colleague Cuban? A lot of sour grapes, it seems like.
Well, Mark has been very vocal, as you've suggested, and he's an open critic, and he has every right to be so. We live in a free speech domain all across North America. I get that. But, you know, if you go back and look at any administration switchover, I don't care which president came in, every cycle, every 4 or 8 years, you get pretty well chaos in the beginning. There's a lot of issues that happen, and there's mistakes made, and that's exactly happening here. What's unique about the Trump presidency is he listed 4 or 5 items that he was going to implement, and nobody thought he would do it, and he just rammed them through so fast that it really caught the bureaucracy off guard. And, you know, the way to measure any presidency is to wait and see how it plays out. By the measure of an investor, you've been pretty happy with Trump. You're up almost 10% on the S&P, and a huge move in a short period of time.
But you said something that I kind of want to touch on here in terms of economic performance. Because let's look at the numbers. President Trump has created well over 200,000 jobs, theoretically, since the election, secured nearly $80 billion in investments in this country from big names like IBM, Walmart, and General Motors. And, you know, he hit this up the other day, tweeting, the stock market hits new high with longest winning streak in decades, great level of confidence and optimism, even before the tax plan rollout. So not only do you have him negotiating a lot of companies reinvesting in jobs and infrastructure here in this country, you have the market on a record tear, and the tax cuts haven't even come down the pipeline yet. What do you expect in terms of the tax cut rollout?
Basically, the entire financial services sector, large money center banks, and also all the regionals, have moved almost 25% in a matter of 16 weeks. That's unprecedented. And if we don't deliver on deregulation and reduction of corporate taxes, that could easily evaporate. So that makes me a little nervous. The fortunes of these banks haven't changed. Their cash flows haven't changed. The regulation environment hasn't changed. These are all promises. Trump has done a pretty masterful job in getting people to believe he's going to do it. Now he's got to bring home the bacon. That's the key.
Speaking of bacon, Canadian bacon, your guy Trudeau was here earlier this week. And, you know, whenever Trump does the photo op, he likes to shake hands very vigorously. And before we do this, let's take a look at how Trump usually shakes hands with men he's dealing with. I think we have some footage here. So, your guy Trudeau tried to beat him to the punch when they shook hands, grabbing him by the arm here, and then kind of going in so he doesn't get the pull job. I thought it was pretty effective. Well, you must have been proud of your Canadian counterpart.
My concern about the meeting was this. I looked at it against the British and the Japanese prime minister meetings, because to me, that's a sign of respect, really. Let's remember that Canada and the United States have an unprecedented relationship. Why would Trudeau only get 15 minutes of the president's time in private when the British prime minister got hours and the Japanese went golfing? That's the thing I'm worried about. That's the kind of signal I didn't like.
Well, listen, if you're ever elected Canadian PM, maybe you can go play golf down in Florida with President Trump, okay?
It's quality time, quality time.
That's right. And thank you very much for joining us, and good luck in the election up north. Appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Up next, in honor of this President's Day weekend, a time-honored American tradition, the Watters World Quiz. He was a farmer before he became president. Do you know what he farmed?
He had a chicken farm.
This is not Colonel Sanders.
Corn, wheat.
And I'll be reading some of your comments about our show, so be sure to keep tweeting me. Today is Monday, and we figured we'd honor the men who held office by asking a few people how much they know about the presidency. I quickly learned I should have kept my mouth shut. Big holiday coming up on Monday.
Oh, yeah, President's Day.
President's Day. What are you going to do to commemorate the presidents?
President Obama. I'm going to listen to Beyonce all day. 'Cause I slay. I slay.
Ready? First one.
I don't know who that is.
Looks like George Bush Sr.
Now, he had a very famous saying. Ready? Read my lips. No new...
Oh, my God.
No new...
Policies.
Friends.
Taxes?
Read my lips. No new taxes.
Well, he raised taxes, and he didn't get reelected.
I saw his face on BuzzFeed one time.
It's Ronald Reagan.
Now, he had a very famous saying.
Oh my God.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this. Tear down this.
Economy? I don't know.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What wall were they talking about?
The Great Wall of China? I don't know. I'm not.
The Berlin Wall. No one knows this one.
Yeah. I have no idea who he is.
I wish I didn't know either. Can I give you a hint?
Yeah.
Jimmy
Kimmel.
Jimmy Carter.
He was a farmer before he became president. Do you know what he farmed?
He had a chicken farm.
This is not Colonel Sanders.
Corn, wheat,
Vegetables? Was he a vegan?
He was a peanut farmer, right?
Oh, I know him.
Who is it?
I know. No.
That's John F. Kennedy.
Excellent. No, what does the F stand for?
Franklin.
Franklin?
Fitzgerald.
Yes. Remember that supermodel that he dated?
I don't.
Jackie.
That was his wife.
Marilyn Monroe, right?
Very good.
Now that one I know.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
He also had a very famous saying, ask not what your country can do for you, but...
Ask what you can do for your country.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
What do you do for your country?
What can I do for my country?
I pay taxes when I buy my soda.
Hey, guys. Whoa, big gulps, huh? All right.
Uh-oh. Oh, my God. Who is he?
What's the old white man's name?
Honestly, I'm completely blank on this one.
Harry
Potter.
Harry Potter, the boy who lived. Is that Truman, maybe?
Now, he dropped the A-bomb on what country?
Nevada.
Japan.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
You're right.
Oh, my God. Who are these people?
I'm Waters. Oh, and this is my world.
Fun.
Coming up, the tweets of the week. Some are pretty mean. Don't go anywhere. Good or bad, we always want to know what you think of our show. So this week, Candace says, greatest, funniest journalist of all time and always speaks the truth. Waters World, Waters for Prez 2020. Candace, you mean 2024. Fighting the Good Fight writes, has anybody ever told the host of Waters World on Fox News that he is not that funny? Even his sarcasm is bad. My staff tells me all the time. Beautiful Bo says, you, sir, are dumpster diving trash. Bo, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And Troy Magnuson tweets, I'm walking around the office repeating, I'm Waters, and this is my world. I've been told to shut up numerous times. Sounds like a hostile work environment over there. So if you want to let me know how I'm doing, send me a tweet. And you can also